As a young teacher, I think I wanted to be liked when I was in my early 20s. Like, I just want them to like me and like my class, which is like a human thing. We all want to be liked. We all want to be, and not that I don't want you guys to like enjoy our our class, enjoy our relationship. Like that for me is still hugely important. But in the end, like, I want you to hopefully enjoy something about the class, but I do want you to be able to trust me, right? And sometimes it's not like you might trust me, but you might not always enjoy the moment. Like, let's say we're doing a really hard reading or something. You might not always enjoy that moment. It might be really hard for you. But I want there to be a level of trust and communication that like we're in this together. I got your back. Like there are some students that are like, even I've had an advisory. They don't always like me at certain times. Let's say they're going through a hard time or they got in trouble or whatever, but they know I got their back. And sometimes like you can't have both at the same time. And I think growing as a teacher or any role where you're like working with people is like constant communication, constant like trust of how do you move forward even when somebody's going to have a challenge, right?
Hello and welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch and I'm really glad you've joined us. I am here on location at the Mental Health Summit. I'm not only the Rare Beauty Mental Health Summit, also the NatCon, the National Council for Mental Health. And so this work of the Million Mask Movement is growing around the world, and we invite you to be a part. You can do this in your communities, with your friends, family. We ask you to share the mask with us so that we can continue this movement of helping 1 million people around the world. Today is our face-to-face with our youth host, Wenceslao. Wenceslao is in conversation today with Mr. Hill, who's a Spanish teacher. And one of the things I'm really excited about in this conversation is if you've been listening to Wenceslao's episodes, you will hear his confidence beginning to grow in so many ways. You will hear him begin to learn that these conversations with adults is helping him to be able to move faster among his peers. I may have mentioned this before when KRS-One said it. He said, for young people to be able to move faster among young people, they should be learning from and having more conversations with adults. And the way adults are going to be able to move faster among adults is to have more conversations and learn from young people. We all need each other. And so for those that are new, this is the Taking Off the Mask podcast. Wenceslao is going to take this teacher, Mr. Hill, through the Million Mask Movement. 3 steps. Draw a mask, 3 words on the front of the mask, 3 words on the back of the mask. The front of the mask are things that we gladly let the world see. The back of the mask are things that we don't usually talk about. And I hope that you hear these two have a beautiful conversation and learn from each other. And another thing I think is important for this season of this work of the Million Mask Movement is so much is happening with our young people today. Our young people need us. They need adults who can listen, who can offer thoughts, ideas. And only the idea of advice would happen when the young person says, I'm looking for advice. What would it be like for young people and adults if we came together in ways that gave us permission to just not know? What if young people didn't have to know the right answer to why they do what they do? What if adults didn't have the right answers to why the world is the way it is? What if we could just start learning from each other by being curious? That, I think, is very powerful. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you enjoy, if you've been watching Wenceslao's growth, I hope you enjoy just listening to his confidence increase. Listen, imagine you being a freshman in high school and beginning to interview adults and other teenagers in a way where you get to be a learner, to be curious. So proud of him. And I hope that you enjoy Taking Off the Mask episode. If you know of an adult, teacher, parent, someone who you think we should be talking to, whether they're on the show with me or they're on the show with Wenceslao, please connect us and let us know. If you haven't yet made a mask, we ask you to go to millionmask.org to make your mask. And this is May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So please do something this month to really support yourself and others around their mental wellness. Thank you for dealing with my shaking. Thank you for dealing with me being on location a lot. There's a lot of movement in this Million Mask Movement, and we look forward to you being a part of it soon. Take care, everybody. Be well. Please enjoy today's episode of Face to Face with Wenceslao and Mr. Hill.
Hi everyone, it's me, Wenceslao again. This is my 4th podcast, and today I am here with...
Yeah, I'm Bryan Hill. I'm a Spanish teacher at Cal Academy, and this is where I say a little bit about me, right? I've been teaching for 20 years now. This is my 2nd year in California. I'm from Michigan originally. So I taught for 18 years in Michigan, and my wife is from California, so we moved here, where I love to live and teach. I have a 1-year-old son. I love sports, so spend a lot of time with my family and trying to explore the Bay now that we live here.
Thank you for being part of this podcast.
For sure. Yeah, thank you.
So first we're gonna start with this mask. And for the people who don't know, on one side of the paper, you're gonna draw this front side of the mask is what you normally let people see, what you show. And then the back side of the mask is what you usually hide and don't let people see. So we'll take a few minutes and just draw.
Okay,
Side.
do we both want to do a side? We can both do the other side?
Sure.
Okay.
You want me to start or you want to start?
You start, man. I'd like to hear. Okay.
So, for this side, I wrote engaging, a fast learner, and passionate. Because engaging, I like to engage in order to learn. A fast learner because I think it's like a skill that I have about taking in information quickly. And passionate because I'm really passionate about the things I love, and I like to learn a lot about them.
Nice. You want me to show it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put it here, but then I don't have a great memory. I said positive. I think that's like something I want. Hopefully, lead with a smile most of the time. I'd like to show that I'm curious, curious with people. I'd like to understand, like with students, with people I meet, like what's your story? What makes you you? I feel like what I like to show is that I'm caring. I do care about things and people and experiences. I wrote under control. That's something that I don't know if I always project that, but like that there's a sense of like groundedness that I have. And the last one I thought it was like bridge builder. I think in my roles in life, but also being a Spanish teacher, but also in speaking English, there have been different times where I've tried to like, how do I bring people together? Whether it's students with material, whether it's people with experiences. So I put on mine.
Thank you. Now moving on to the back side. For this side, I wrote shy because I get really shy about like new people, and sometimes I get shy if we do presentations. But in a big group, like a presentation in a classroom, I do get a bit shy, but I guess I'm really used to it. But if I do it to a bigger amount of people, then I do get a bit shy, nervousness. And I put not trust in myself because I feel that when I finish a work or when I finish a goal, I guess, I don't really trust myself that I really complete it to my fullest. And I just don't trust myself into completing something, or trust myself that I fully completed a goal, and then can't decide because for me, deciding is kind of difficult, and sometimes, unfortunately, I talk to people into deciding for me when I should decide for myself.
I like that. I said there are 3 things that came up on mine. One is just fears. I think as I was thinking about like my mask that I show people, I don't think fears are in the front of what I'll show or lead with people. Whether like you were talking about with your presentations, like we all have that, right? But I think we bury them at different times. I put negative thoughts, and not that I feel like I'm a positive person. What people see is real, but like I think negative thoughts. I have very high expectations for myself, and I want to be clear because you're one of my students. So I don't really think I have negative thoughts with my students, but I think when I have expectations of like systems that I'm part of, that I might be like, wait, we could be doing that better, and try like some of those I bury because I don't want to come across as negative as well. And I think we lined up in a lot of ways. Like I just put insecurity, right? It's like that's not something that we often show others because it's super vulnerable, right? When you don't feel secure, you don't feel like you might match up with other people in different ways. You start to question yourself, right? So that would be behind the mask.
Thank you. I forgot my book. Usually I use a book.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, Prophet. It's called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, I think.
Yeah, I've heard it. I haven't read it. Okay.
Yeah, it's about different, like, poets about different, things. Like, they get asked about, talk about, students and teaching, talk about home, talk about children, And usually I bring that book and just say a few lines about the poems he talks about and really just connect it to how we feel about the topics we usually talk about.
That's cool.
Unfortunately. So now we're moving on to the card game, and so this is about answering a few questions that the card game gives to us, and we're just answering like 3 or 4 cards.
Okay.
You want me to start as a demonstration?
Sure. Let's see it.
Okay, so I'll just pick one from the middle. Put them here. Then my card is, if money was no issue, what is something you would start? I think I would start I would find ways to help me and my community to find their dream, I guess, and try to accomplish that dream, and live life knowing that they fulfilled that goal and dream in order to feel alive, I guess you could say. So
I like that.
yeah, you wanna?
So this is mine now. Okay.
Yeah, you can pick one from the
Pick
middle.
one from the middle. All right. All right. Share a project that you've recently ended. How recent are we talking about? Or do I get to decide that?
It could be recent, like a few weeks ago, a few months, or a few years.
I see the one that sticks out to me. I'm glad you said the few years at the end is I lived the first 41 years of my life in one place, other than like studying abroad and that sort of stuff, but like in a very different state, a very different like context. Like I was a teacher. I started at 22 years old. So I taught for almost half of my life there. And so I was very much a part of that community, had several students in each family come through. And then for our family, we wanted to move out here and kind of left that part of my life. So for me, that's like a project that, I don't know if that fits the question, but it's like a project that ended a chapter of my life that I'm still in contact with students and families and definitely friends there. But we're here now, so we're a little bit further away now. So, yeah.
And this card says, name a relationship that recently ended.
Ooh.
Think of one. I wouldn't name this a relationship, more like a friendship. and I don't think it like switch it up the question, but I guess my friends from middle school, some of them, most of them, I guess I just drifted apart from most of my friends from middle school. They all went to the same school, except for me. I'm the only one who went to a different one. And I guess, I still talk to like very few of them, but the other people I used to hang out with, I used to talk a lot. I don't talk to them anymore. So I guess relationships, my friendships with my friends at middle school, I guess you could say they recently ended.
That's for sure. Like, these are good questions, man.
Yeah.
Like, deep, too. All right. If you were to die today, what would you most regret? I would most regret this is probably like the most basic answer to it, but like the time that I could have maybe spent with people that I didn't, or the times that I didn't. This is like a really good example. I'm sure you, maybe not, but like I'm older, I feel like I have really good friendships and relationships, but sometimes we don't even talk on these deep of level with people. And for me, it's like those missed opportunities to really get to know somebody that I maybe didn't for whatever reason, because we were busy, because we just didn't do that. I think I would regret those connections with people or the time spent with people. Yeah.
We'll be sharing one more.
One more?
And
Okay.
ask one question. This one. What is a hidden talent that you want to work on more? I want, let's say, hidden talent. I think determination, because when I really want to try something or improve on something that I feel I didn't improve on enough, I get really determined. For example, like let's say if I am not good at a sport, right? Let's say basketball, and I really want to do it, like let's say next year, I'm like really I'm determined to try and to improve myself to be good at probably basketball next year. But I feel that I don't really use that talent or skill enough for my academic work or other important things that aren't to me.
Ooh, are you more afraid of success or failure? Why? That's like a really good question in life. For me, I would say failure. I think from like a young age, I've been a bit of a perfectionist, as I said, and so like you played baseball too, right? And I played baseball. Was like I did not want to get out. I did not So I'm not afraid of like actually having success. It's more like what happens if I don't, right? If I don't accomplish whatever that goal is. So that would be my answer to that. Yeah.
That's how I felt this week's for baseball. I couldn't, at the beginning of the season, I couldn't really hit the ball at batting. I just really, until last week,
Okay.
I did a first hit, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
Yeah. So now we're gonna just talk and ask questions. Usually I have my questions on phone. But since I'm recording it, I just memorize them.
Okay.
I don't memorize all of them. But just a simple one right now. So you're a Spanish teacher, right?
Yeah.
I think you told us one time that you didn't want to be a teacher when you were young, or you didn't dream.
Yeah.
How did you start, or when did you decide to become a teacher, and why?
You want the short version or the long version? I mean, not super long, but
Whichever.
okay. I'll give you a little bit of the longer one because I think it explains why I didn't want to be a teacher originally. I have mentioned in class, like my favorite class in school growing up was always math, and so I was more inclined for that. I was good at math. I took Spanish as this kid in a place where there's not a lot of Spanish speakers, but I don't consider myself really good or that was my favorite class. So I was thinking like I'm going to do something with math or like business. Like that's what I want to go to college and do. My mind works in that way. I didn't want to be a teacher because my dad was a teacher. My mom worked in schools. My grandma was a teacher. I have aunts and uncles that were teachers. And so that's not something that I didn't want to follow just the path that everybody else did. But when I got to college, the only class I liked my freshman year was Spanish. I didn't like my business classes. And so I was like, okay, I really like my Spanish class, even though it wasn't my best class. And then I started to go, well, okay, so if I like Spanish, I still was taking math. And I was like, what can I do with those two things that I'm really good at and starting to be good at with Spanish and enjoy? I was like, I really like people. As I really didn't like my business classes, I just felt they didn't connect with me. They weren't something I could see myself doing. I was like, I like to work with people. I like the energy of young people. And I started on this journey of thinking, well, maybe I need to consider teaching. I studied abroad in Mexico my second year of college. And then by that time was so in love with the language and the culture that I was like, I want to do this. And so that's where I started to take a lot of my teaching classes. And so that door didn't open up for me. Like at your age, if somebody said to me you're going to be a teacher, I would be like, no, I don't want to do that. I can't imagine myself being in front of a classroom or doing all that stuff. As a teenager, it was something that in college, I totally changed my life career path. Just because of what I saw open in front of me. Yeah.
Did you ever feel insecure that what would others think when you were teaching, or what would students say to you?
Yeah. That's a really great question. I feel early in my career, when you're young, right? I don't know if you have many young teachers. You have some young teachers, I think. I was because I hadn't done it very much. I was very sensitive to how are they doing this? Wait, this student's got their head down. Are they, and took it almost really personally in the insecurity. I think as I got more confident with what I'm doing in class, and I think overall too, sometimes, and I'll just say it, I don't know if you feel this way, but not that your head's ever down, right? But if your head's down, it might be something that's happening in Spanish class, but I'm finding most often in life, a way somebody that reacts to you has very little to do with you. It could, but often it's something that they're carrying that maybe you are connected to, but maybe you're not. And I think that helped me let go of that insecurity, is more with time, and then constantly trying to remind myself everybody's carrying their own stuff every day. And so that helped me kind of push through that. Yeah.
Do you think that being a teacher was your goal and that you've accomplished, I guess, number one goal in life?
In life?
Or so far in your journey?
I tend to think if I like to use the word vocation, right? Everybody's kind of and vocation doesn't have to be your job that you make money for, but what is my role in life? And I would say the answer is yes to that. Is I know that in teaching's hard, man. You probably see it.
Yeah.
In as a student, not to say it was hard, our life's that bad, but teaching's there's so much going on. You've got hundreds of students coming through that you're trying to not only teach them, but hopefully support them and all of that stuff. And it's just a lot. But I think it's once you do it, It is. It's like my vocation. It's what I do, you know, and I hope to be able to do it for a while longer. And yeah,
You said today at class that you spent more time here than you do with your family.
more awake hours. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think it's like harder to just, I guess, like switch your mind or your mindset from teaching to like your family, like since you spend so much time here?
I that's I'm gonna keep saying you just have good questions. I think there are times of the year where it's harder. I think it's harder for me in the fall, when there's so much of like trying to get to know all my students. Like there's so much like emotional, mental energy in that, and like getting to know who they're, even like learning your names right early on, and then how do you learn, and all of those things that come with the beginning of the year. So it's harder, I think, in those times of the year. As the rhythm of the year goes, as the rhythm of the years, 'cause I've been doing this for 20 years, like longer than you've been alive, right? So then it's easier to make that switch. I think as a young teacher and knowing younger teachers, like you carry things with you more. But I think a big answer to that is with teaching. Like it's not like, you know, they call them like 9 to 5 jobs, right? Like you go for 8 hours, and then you totally leave your job and go do something else. So if like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're like at work at a store or whatever, like once you clock out, you're not really thinking about that store very much. But teaching is like you're taking home papers, you're planning for the next day. You know, let's say somebody in class is going through something that's really hard and you had to make a parent phone call or check in with them. Like it's something that you do carry with you. And some nights that's hard, man, to be like, hey, my kid wants to wrestle today. My kid loves to, that's one of his favorite things to do is just wrestle. But like, or like, I want to be fully present at dinner. And yeah, it's sometimes hard to do that, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that? So I've had a previous teacher in the previous episode, and we talked about having good relationship between a student and a teacher. Do you think that is important in order to help a student in class, or just to have that? How do you explain? Or just something else. Do you think it's important to have a good relationship and communication with a teacher and a student?
Yeah, no, I think that's like at the height of what we need is communication, right? And I don't know if like, I think what you were originally saying, maybe I was misinterpreting too, is like in order to like to help them learn, or you're not going
Yes,
that way?
in order to like help them throughout like the years of school, like throughout their years of high school.
Yeah, like I really do think, and like you were asking about like my journey, right? I really do think as a young teacher, I think I wanted to be liked when I was in my early 20s. Like, I just want them to like me and like my class, which is like a human thing. We all want to be liked. We all want to be, and not that I don't want you guys to like enjoy our class, enjoy our relationship. Like that for me is still hugely important. But in the end, like, I want you to hopefully enjoy something about the class, but I do want you to be able to trust me, right? And sometimes it's not like you might trust me, but you might not always enjoy the moment. Like, let's say we're doing a really hard reading or something. I used to teach Spanish 5, so it's like a lot of like really challenging. We're getting ready for a big test. You might not always enjoy that moment. It might be really hard for you. But I want there to be a level of trust and communication that like we're in this together. You know, I got your back. You know, like there are some students that are like, even I've had an advisory, and I'm going to be really like, I'm going to be very trying to like not, you know, be anonymous with them, but like they don't always like me at certain times. Let's say they're going through a hard time or they got in trouble or whatever, but they know I got their back. And sometimes like you can't have both at the same time. And I think growing as a teacher or any role where you're like working with people is like constant communication, constant like trust of how do you move forward even when somebody's going to have a challenge, right?
What do you think is like the best way to like build a better communication with the student? Like, because most of the students like probably like ignore and like don't try to, or or don't like really trust teachers,
Yeah.
what do you think is like the best way, or how do you make a better communication between the students?
So one thing that sticks out to me when you ask that question is like, I think something that when you talked about like is teaching your vocation, I think something that's part of like, or you said, or your dream or your goal or whatever. I think something for me is like that really sticks with me as a teacher and as a person is like, I want, and if we can come back to this, I want to share more of that, which it kind of sounds weird, right? I want to share what's more behind my mask. But I've found that like in relationships, in family, in friendships, the more you share your fears, your insecurities, those negative thoughts maybe that you have, there's actually more, your relationships deepen, right? So we put those behind our masks, but I know that it's called, it's vulnerability, right? Once I share things that like make me more human, everybody, I think we deepen in our relationship. I'm not saying I'm going to get in front of you guys and be like, guys, I'm scared of being like, that's not really, I don't know always what a teacher does. But I think on one-on-one, I don't know, I think I've done with this with you, but like there have been times I've screwed up I think I've told you, like there was a situation, I can't even fully remember it, but I remember like, I am getting better at like saying, hey, I screwed up yesterday. I know I'm a teacher. I know like we've got this thing like, but like I screwed up. I should have handled your situation a little bit differently. And I know that caused a little rift with us. And so what I'm saying to you is like one thing that I think is like really important is to be human. Because if I want you to trust me, like I've got to give you, like I got to show that I'm human too. And that I'm going to make a mistake and I have to acknowledge that your mistake is okay. And I'm going to make them too. If that kind of makes sense with the question that you're asking.
Yeah. The other question is, so there's I can't fully remember the line from the book Prophet, but it was a line talking about how teachers are the leaders and students are the followers, and the teachers leads them to success. Do you think that most teachers, lead students to success, or just try to, instead of leading the group, they try to just push the group up without trying to, I guess, looking back and see if one member of the group is missing and try to look for them in order to help them to lead to success, if you know what I'm saying?
I like that. I'm going to ask a follow-up question to make sure I understand. What do you feel like is the difference between leading a student to success and pushing? Like where do you see the big difference there?
Yeah, for sure. Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Just so I can like fully understand.
Yeah.
Like what's the difference between, in your opinion, like or in the book, right? Leading or pushing?
Like leading for me is that the students, like how should I explain? Like let's say Mr. Martinez's class, right?
Yeah.
He teaches ethnic studies, and I feel that he really leads the class by trying to teach as much as like he tried to teach like things that about society, I guess you could say, right? And try to like teaches us and like teaches about things that we need to know or we should know, compared to like something like people that teachers just teach and just probably don't fully understand if students understand what they're saying.
Okay. And it sounds like the difference is like they're not really worried if the kids fall behind or don't get it. Okay. No, I definitely are like on that first end of like, I really don't want students to not have success in whatever we're doing or even in who they are, right? I want them to be the best version of them. And so personally, especially as we're talking like Monday's going to be May, we're like almost at the end of the school year. Like I want to do everything I can from the beginning of the year to the end that like all of you will have what success is for you. And success for you might be 98%, right? Success for you is like you said, you get things easily, you work really hard. Success for somebody else might be, I was failing all semester, but I'm coming in, I'm getting extra support, and I got to pass. Or success would be like I had a really tough semester personally, and I'm doing fine academically, but I'm able to maybe feel more of like myself again. Like I'm very much on. I don't want any of you to not help get to where I want you guys to be. And sorry if I'm going on too long, but like the other piece of that is like I truly recognize like I've got an idea of what I want to hopefully like some skills I want you guys have, like some outlooks, like Mr. Martinez, like what we want you to be able to think about the world in your own way. But I don't have everything, right? You guys bring a lot in. And so I heard, just to kind of finish out, I heard this analogy that I really like about teaching. Some people call teaching like filling a bucket. Like you take water and I'm going to help fill your knowledge. I get it. Like I get like it comes from a good place. I don't like that as much. A teacher who I really respect. She retired a couple of years ago. One of my favorite teachers that I've ever known. She talked about it like like if student is like, let's say a student is like a plant or even like a seed, right? I can't make a seed do anything. Like I can't be like, go, like I can be the water. I can give you water. I can give you sun, but you're going to grow and you're going to grow in your own way. And I'm hopefully going to give you the conditions to help grow in your best way. But I am not the deciding factor. I don't control how you grow. I can help shape you. I can help challenge you or whatever that is or support you. But like you're going to grow, right? And I kind of like that. It's talked about like a lot that way in parenting too, right? Like my kid is not, I can't control how he grows. I can only give him the best conditions to grow, right? And I think, wow, I went off on a tangent, man. This is what a podcast is, I guess. But like I think for me, becoming a parent not all that long ago has helped me change my perspective in teaching as well. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Did you just like a question? Did you just have you just teach high school?
Yeah. Well, sorry. Very, very early, very young, I taught some college classes as I was doing my master's. But since then, it's been high school.
Do you think the communication between a college student is different or harder than a high school student?
Different or harder? Like in class communication?
Yeah.
I will say this. College students don't have to be there. If you get like you're paying the money. So if you go to class, so in college, what I felt like is like, I know that like you're a really good student. And I think probably you feel like you get a lot of most of your classes, right? But you technically by law you have to be here like until you're 16. In college, you don't. And so there are students in high school for like understandable reasons. Like school hasn't been positive for them. They don't want to be here. And sometimes that's some of when we talk about classroom management, right? Like how are students engaging in class? Like that can be difficult in high school. In college, I taught a couple different years. There was only one time I said to a student, "Hey, you don't have to be here. It seems like you're having a really bad day. It's not really going well in the learning, but like you can feel free like if you need to go home." And the student got really scared because thought I was like really mad at him. I wasn't. I just said it like that. And he was like, no, I'm good. And then like he was like fine the rest of the day. So I think in college, the difference is, I don't think communication is harder in college. I think they're at a different place like in their lives, in their responsibility. I think the relationship is more connected in high school because we see you more. In college, it's like 4 months for one semester, a few times a week maybe. Where in high school, I see you every day for a year. And for a lot of students, I see you every day for multiple years, which is like so much more valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the questions I just had so far. Do you have any questions for me or just?
Yeah, I do. You've done this 4 times now. So I was watching you do this, not watching you, sorry. I was just like next to you as you're doing it, and I was looking over. Do you feel like this, what we did here, this whatever experiment has changed? have your masks or your understanding of your own mask, has that changed or evolved? Do you put different things each time?
Yeah, I try to put as much, I guess, words as I can that incorporate with me. And I've done this many times, and sometimes I put the same thing. Sometimes it changes throughout the years. So this is my 3rd year with the club. So the words here weren't probably last year. The words last year aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
just words change throughout the years and my different times I do.
I like that. I'm going to ask you one more. I mean, whatever time you have. Those cards, I've seen those questions, but never like in a situation where they're all together. I don't know, as I said, I don't know a lot of adults who engage in that depth of conversation that's so intentional on a regular basis. How have you grown from like having these conversations? Like it seems like that's a big part of what you're doing here in this.
Well, I've been presentations, we've been to convention centers and talked to adults, and just when I talk to an adult, I guess I feel that most, or probably like most teenagers probably share like the same feeling, I guess, like probably like mad because they have a problem to deal with, probably at home, school, or outside. And just hearing adults do this and then talking about their past and how it impacts their present is really just changing my view of adults when I see them, and just changes how I my conversations between them. And it's I guess it's like cool, I guess you could say, to see what adults write and then what teenagers write, and just have like comparisons, and then just find out that most of them just share the same feeling. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's not another question. I think it's just a comment about how amazing I think all of this is, especially, how old are you? 15, 14?
15.
Like most people at 25 aren't having these depth of like intentional thoughts and conversations. So I just give you a lot of credit and respect for what you're doing, man. It's really cool.
Really changed me, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
when I first started, and now how I'm doing right now. Been trying to take shy away from the back of the mask.
So it's like a goal for you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
One of my goals.
That's awesome.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, man, I think we're good.
Usually I sometimes like ask the guests to say something about, like, to the audience about what we talked about. And so we talked about like about teaching, right? And like relationship between students and success. If you want to give some words of wisdom to the audience about, or into like I know some audience could be teachers as well, or
Okay.
teachers. Do you want to say anything to the audience about their relationship between students and their just having, we talked about like teachers and leading the group. I think also that could also include with probably families or friends. Do you want to say something about just helping or leading the group together, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, wow, when you say words of wisdom and then me, I don't know if, I believe, so I've got, I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but here's what I got. Above my desk right there, I've got a couple of different, just so I'm actually looking at the screen, I've got some different bumper stickers that I found at a store. One says, "We were all immigrants once," because I truly believe that. And anytime we try to break each other down because of somebody, nobody owns land. I mean, that's just not a thing. We were all immigrants. But there are two that like stick out to me when you're like, hey, if there are words of wisdom, like, I think one of the themes that sits with me about the questions and about this is like it says humankind be both, like humankind, the one word, but then be human and be kind. And I think for me, like a life's path when I look back is like, how do I become more human and more humane? Because I think connected to family, connected to like when we share our vulnerabilities, when we share our dreams, when we share our thoughts on a level that's intentional and deep, we move forward. We grow. I grow. You grow. All of us do. And the other one says compassion. It's a Dalai Lama quote. Compassion is the radicalism of our time, and we don't have enough compassion. I strive. I'm sure I fail a lot to show compassion in every moment, but trying to do that, I think, is something that I hope I do at times in teaching, and definitely I think make my personal life, my family life, my fatherhood life better, is showing compassion and being human. So I think those are the two things.
Thank you for being in this podcast.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, our audience, for listening, tuning in. And I just have a good day.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
The Taking Off the Mask podcast is produced by Ryan Louie. Graphics are by Kelly Wong. And a special thanks to the team at Ever Forward, Vanessa Cortez and Choque Allen Alvarez. We'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of the creation of this podcast as we cross the 100th episode milestone and begin the work to the next 100. We hope that everyone who's been a part knows that they're a part of the Taking Off the Mask family. And we look forward to you being a part of it as well. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe, write a 5-star review, and share, as we look forward to continuing to have conversations that matter. Stay tuned for the relaunch of the Million Mask Movement on 11/11/22. That's November 11th of 2022. There's a math problem in there. You can find out more by visiting everforwardclub.org and following us on social media. Take care, and we'll see you soon.